Store-bought color wheels can teach you color theory, but they will not show you how to practically apply it to the paints right in front of you. They are just too generalized. We're going to create a color wheel that is customized for ourselves. There are all these videos and tutorials and books about color out there. Some of them are helpful and some are not. But the reason why we keep searching through all this information about color is because we want to do just one thing. We want to match the color that we see in the tree or the face or that kitty with our paint on our canvas. And we want to do it without having to spend a ton of time learning color theory. And that's what I want to do, help you match color easily and do it without any fluff, just pure value. So let's get right into it. Now, physical or digital color wheels are great. They can teach you the principles of color theory, but none of them will match what your oil paints look like. So we need to have a color system that shows us where to plot our paints on our own customized color wheel. For example, where does Hansa Yellow Medium go on this color wheel? Or where does Alizarin Permanent go on this color wheel? I have those paints, but I'm not sure where they exist on this color wheel. So why is it important to have a color wheel that's created with our paints that we own? Because if we have our colors plotted on a wheel, we can ask some questions about the color that we want to make, then reference that wheel, and it should point us directly to tubes of color in our paint box. So the color system is going to help us achieve that. The color system we're going to use is the Munsell color system because it was built for paint and it takes the properties of color, which are hue, chroma, and value, and assigns each one of those colors a number so we can easily put it where it goes on our own color wheel. And we're going to use this because Gamblin, the paint that I love to use, has every one of their colors notated with this system, making it super easy to build your own color wheel with Gamblin paint. But don't worry, if you don't have Gamblin paint, I have a resource that you can reference to match most of the oil paints on the market with the Munsell color system notation. Just see the link in the description below for colorwell.org, which begs the question, which paint brands do you love to use most? Let me know in the comments as well while you're down there getting that link. But let's get back to the color wheel that we're going to make, because I want to show you an example of how the color wheel works. So if I'm trying to match the shadow side of this banana, I can look at the color wheel that we created and start with the closest color that I have. So in this instance, maybe Hansa Yellow Medium. We just identified the first property of the color we need, which is hue. Hue is the name, yellow, red, green, blue. Then we ask just 3 simple questions after that. Does it need to be lighter? Does it need to be darker? And that's value. Does it need to be more intense or less intense? And that's chroma. Does it need to be more red or more blue? And that's warmer or cooler, basically. In this instance, the Hansa Yellow Medium needs to be darker, less intense, and cooler to match that banana's shadow. So then we try to find the color on our wheel that will make the Hansa Yellow Medium darker, less intense, and cooler all at the same time. Just one color can do all that. And when we look on our wheel, we can see that all these colors will do that. Another example of how I use this color wheel is finding out how to best neutralize a color. Using our Hansa Yellow Medium again, I can see that I could neutralize this color with any of these colors that are closer to the center of the color wheel or opposite Hansa Yellow Medium on the other side of the wheel. Now, if I was using a store-bought color wheel, I could gain an understanding that blue will neutralize yellow, but which of the blue paints that I own will neutralize the color in the way that I need to match that darn banana shadow? Store-bought color wheels can teach you color theory, but they will not show you how to practically apply it to the paints right in front of you. They are just too generalized. They have to be generalized because they're for everybody. We're going to create a color wheel that is customized for ourselves. In essence, what we're making is a basic color wheel, but because it's customized for us, it's infinitely more useful. So let's make our own color wheel so you can do the same as the banana example, because I know you got a bunch of bananas that you want to match color on. Here are the materials you will need. First, foam core board, or any board like it really. I just like foam core boards because they're super light and easy to cut. I don't need to get a bunch of tools to cut wood. I can just use a knife. And then we need neutral gray acrylic paint, or you can make your own with white and black gesso. This is the perfect background for any color because it doesn't interfere with your judgment of the color. Next, you will need your oil paints, a pencil, a ruler, and a knife. Step number 1, cut the board into an 18-inch square. Then find the center of the square by drawing lines from each corner. Put a very small hole in the center. Then you want to paint your foam core board on both sides. Make sure you do both sides because this will prevent a lot of warping. After your gray paint is dry, measure out from the center 8 inches all around. If you have a really big compass, this step is much easier because it's a lot easier to make circles with a compass. But if you don't, just create a bunch of hash lines all the way around and connect the lines to make a symmetrical circle. Then you need to repeat this for 7 inches out, 6 inches out, 5 inches out, etc. until your last circle is 1 inch in radius from the center. Now you want to bisect your entire wheel with a horizontal and vertical line. And then this step is the tricky part. As best you can, divide each quadrant of the outer circle into 5 sections using 4 marks. This doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Just eyeball it. Then draw lines from each of those marks you just made through the center of the wheel to the opposite edge of the furthest circle. And repeat that step for the other 2 quadrants. Now we want to look at the Munsell color system and notate each point around the outer edge of the color wheel with the Munsell color notation, starting with 5R, then all the way around the circle. You can see a link in the description for an example you can print out and follow along for all the different color notations. Lastly, this is the last step. Each concentric circle gets its own number from 2 to 16. These are indications of saturation. So 2 is the closest to the center, closest to gray. 16 being the closest to pure, super bright, awesome color is on the outside. That's the most saturated. But the next part is really fun because this part is all about matching your oil paints to the Munsell color notation that we set up and then placing little circles on the wheel with very small text to indicate what color that is. You do this by looking at the Munsell numbers for each tube of paint. For this example, we will use cadmium red light. The notation for cadmium red light is 5R with a saturation of 16, so it goes here, right on the outside circle. And then you repeat this for all the paint tubes that you own. Now, once you've plotted all your colors on the wheel, now you can start opening tubes of paint and placing the colors on the wheel and having fun with it. Make sure that you use a clean brush for each circle of paint. We want these to be as pure as they can be right out of the tube. And for transparent colors or semi-transparent colors, try and get it on there as thick as you can. Then a few weeks after the paint circles have dried, you can go over each one with a small dab of varnish to bring the luster of the paint back to where it used to be right out of the tube. This way you can see the true value, chroma, and hue of each paint. Then, the easy part, you just hang your color wheel on the wall in your studio and use it for every painting. Reference it every time, it will help you tremendously. And then, when you buy a new tube of paint, just add it to the chart. Wow, that was a lot of steps to build that thing, but trust me, it's worth it. You will make this color wheel once and use it for the rest of your life. So the next step of this journey into color is to get painting. That's the most important. But if you're lacking the motivation to get painting and need some ideas of what to paint next, I've got the perfect video for you right here. So check that out. And until then, I'll see you on the next video. Have a wonderful week.